Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen host their annual New Year's Eve live special tomorrow night as the Times Square ball drops on CNN. I spoke with them in 2015 about their comedy tour AC Squared at DC's Warner Theater.
Are you in a wind tunnel, Andy?
Why do I sound like I'm in a wind tunnel?
No,
I'm on my headset.
Okay, fine. You sound a little hollow, but that's fine.
Well, I am a little hollow, as you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounded like a dig. Thank you both so much for coming on with us.
That's good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Now, it's called Deep Talk and Shallow Tales. I assume that sets it up. You guys are going to get deep, insightful stuff and also probably some really loose, lighthearted stuff too, right?
Well, I leave it up to you to decide who is the deep talk and who's the shallow tales. But yeah, it's
I'm the deep one. I'm the deep one.
It's basically kind of it's a fun night out. It's we get a lot of people saying they'd love to go out drinking with us or hang out with us, and that's basically what this is. It's kind of a peek behind the curtain of television, of world events, and the world of pop culture.
Definitely. And it's sort of a style, you're both sitting, it's very laid back sitting on chairs, right? Is it sort of like a between two ferns type feel, or what's kind of the vibe?
It really is. It's very unscripted. It's almost like you're eavesdropping, and it's like we're all going out together for drinks, quite frankly. And I interview Anderson. He interviews me. It winds up being a very freewheeling conversation. And I've been specifically amazed. I'm very loose with my stories and my gossip, but I've been amazed by how much I've been able to get Anderson to reveal on stage. And I think that's kind of my goal when I go there. I'm just trying to get the audience to know the guy that I know when I go out with him. It winds up being a lot of fun.
We also, like it being very interactive with the audience. So the audience, asks questions as well, and it's very much a conversation kind of between Andy and myself and the audience.
Andy, what are some of the stuff you've got him to reveal?
Well, there's a story behind what happened before Anderson went to Hurricane Katrina, which I won't reveal here because it may not be safe for this forum. But it's something that he's never told before publicly to anyone, and I'm kind of amazed that I got him to do it, and I hope I'm not jinxing it because I want him to tell it again in D.C.
The whole point kind of for us is not only to have fun and for the audience to have fun. We like to sort of see how far each of us will go. We know each other so well. We've been friends for so long that we kind of know where all the bodies are buried. So, we kind of see which version of a story the other will tell, and we sort of try to push the other to go, far beyond their comfort zone.
Now, how far back do you guys go? I mean, I know you've been longtime friends, but how far back did you go, and how did you come up together to the idea to do this?
Well, Andy's 86 now, which is, he looks amazing for that age. We've known each other for like 20-something years?
Yeah, a little over 20 years. We were set up initially on a blind date that never took, but we wound up...
it didn't never take. It never actually even happened. The blind date did not happen.
How did it fall through?
Yes.
Well, we had a phone call. That was how we were set up, and so we had a sort of an introductory phone call, and I realized within about 2 minutes of the phone call that there's no way I was going to go on a date with this guy. He just seemed to... I imagine him gesticulating a lot with his hands while he was talking to me. I don't know. It just was a turnoff.
So that would have ruined the date.
In the words of Nene Leakes, so nasty and so rude.
And now he's got to watch you on stage still talking with your hands during AC Squared, and it's got to really get under his skin.
Well, we definitely were better as friends than anything else that might have happened. So
that's true.
But how'd the idea to do the show come up?
Anderson interviewed me for my last book, and it was so fun, and we got such great response that we thought, wouldn't it be fun if we went and did this on the road? And Anderson and I have both, we've traveled a lot. We've both done bookstores, and we're trying to go to cities that we want to go back to, and that we want to visit more. And for me, it's an opportunity to spend a weekend with my buddy and meet people in D.C. or wherever and check out the town.
Yeah, and it's really it just turns out to be incredibly fun. I mean, the audiences, we've had, great sold-out shows in Chicago and great shows in Boston and Miami and Atlanta, and people just seem really into it and seem to be having a great time. There's a lot of drinking goes on, a lot of women make it kind of like a friend's night out with their girlfriends. They go out for dinner beforehand, they have some Pinot Grigio, and by the time the show actually starts, they're ready to laugh and have a great time. And so that's really what we want the night to be for everybody, including for ourselves.
Oh, they're all loosened up by that point.
Everybody is very, very loose. Yes, Andy has in his rider which I didn't even know we could have a rider, but he has tequila backstage, so he takes shots before we go out,
and then he takes shots at you when you go out.
That is true.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
That's awesome.
Exactly right.
Well, without giving specifics, giving away specifics of the show, but give us a little teaser of maybe some smattering of some of the topics you guys talk about when you're up there.
Well, I'm really interested to get into the election with Anderson. So much has happened since the last time we were on stage, and we're going to be in D.C., and I want to find out what Anderson – it'll be just after the debate. So yeah. I am going to be looking to Anderson for some fresh gossip about what was really going on at that debate.
Yeah, I'm actually moderating the Democratic debate on Tuesday the 13th. So the show's on the 17th in Washington. So but we know now. I mean, I know what stories Andy. I know basically all of Andy's stories, and I know which ones are particularly funny. And we also like to surprise each other with videos that we put together, sort of compilations. I like to sort of look at all those Housewives reunions that he's done and pick out the best moments and kind of get the behind-the-scenes story of what's really going on with the Housewives, and also some of the big celebrities he's had on his nighttime show on Watch What Happens Live. And also, I mean, Andy spends more time with celebrities than anybody I've ever met. He goes out every single night of the week before his show. And so he always has these amazing kind of stories about, running into some big celebrity the night before and some weird shenanigans that happened.
Right. So you'll be hosting the the debate the same week as that, and then you turn around and grill him about some housewife stuff. I mean, that's kind of the culture we live in nowadays. How do you sort of juggle the the crossover between the news and the entertainment to be able to switch hats?
I take the news very seriously. I don't take myself as seriously, and I think people know that you can be interested in politics and you can be interested in history or world events or global affairs, and at the same time, like to watch movies or like to read books or have other interests. So, my dirty secret has always been, bad reality television or even good reality television. And I was an early Housewives fan. I was an early, Nene fan from way back. So, I think people know, that we're all multidimensional people. And as long as what you're doing is totally honest, and you're not making stuff up, and you're just being yourself, I think that's how you balance it.
Definitely. And Anderson, when you let's say put on the journalism hat for a second, when you do an interview, we've had a couple of different people on here. I was interested in your personal approach. I mean, when we talked to Larry King for about an hour, he said he'd never really prepared a question in his life. We talked to Dick Cavett, and he said that his sort of approach was when he first started, he used to prepare a list of questions. So, I mean, do you have a personal approach in terms of preparation versus, living in the moment of the interview?
I actually am sort of somewhere down the middle. I mean, I know Larry's thing was never to do research and stuff. I mean, I actually think you do need to do a ton of research. I like to know everything somebody has, said, for the presidential debates. I want to read every interview every candidate has given for the past 6 months and know what their talking points are so I can predict what road they're going to go down so I can sort of try to get them off those talking points. At the same time, I think the idea of going in with a list of questions that there's nothing worse than, having been interviewed by people, there's nothing worse than you're talking to someone and you can tell they're not listening. All they're thinking about is their next question that they've already memorized in their head so they can ask you. So you definitely want to be in the moment. I think it's important to be armed with knowledge, have all the facts, have all the figures, have a game plan. But you got to be in the moment, and the most important thing in any interview is to listen.
Yeah, Anderson just mentioned having a game plan. So, Andy, what is your game plan in terms of when you sit down post-debate? Or what topics are you most interested in finding about post-debate?
Well, I like to know what happened behind the scenes. I like to know what happened backstage. I like to know about ground rules. I like to know who left mad. I like to know who left happy. I like to know what he didn't ask. I like to know what he was thinking. So it's really,
Andy views,
you know.
Andy, by the way, you sound like you're now in a cave, but or in the bathroom.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm not.
I'm a little worried you may be in the bathroom at this very moment. But
No, I'm not.
But what's interesting about Andy is that, I mean, every place he goes, Andy likes to stir up trouble. So whether it's his Christmas party, he likes, or a Housewives reunion show, he likes to stir it up. So he likes to, even when we're on tour, like when we're in D.C., Andy usually likes to go a day in advance. He wants to check out the hotel. He wants to check out the bar at the hotel. He wants to check out what bars are fun and watch it in. And he wants to suss out a whole cast of characters, and so that by the time I'll arrive, he will know kind of everybody who works at the hotel. He'll know their backstory.
I like to show Anderson a good time. Sue me.
But so that's what Andy likes. He likes to know the backstory of the presidential debates. What was Hillary Clinton? Who was she staring at? What was Bernie Sanders saying behind the scenes? Who was coming up during commercial breaks to complain they weren't getting enough time? He wants to know the backstory.
Who was the hot guy sitting behind Anderson?
Awesome. I feel like we've had, several Republican debates, and this is the first time we're getting to see the Democrats. And I know there's a lot of calls from some of the candidates asking for more debates. I mean, do you think that there should be more?
I think it's not my call. I'm always for more rather than less. I think, in terms of informing the electorate, I think the more information that's out there, the better. So I'm certainly somebody who, I'm interested in politics, so I like seeing as many of these things as possible. So, but I can understand why within the interest of some candidates to not have more. Obviously, those who are in the lead often don't want more. I think it'll be interesting to see if and when Biden enters the race, how that affects things and whether they, how that's going to change the race. So I think there's still a lot to be seen on the Democratic side.
If any of these candidates came to AC Squared, what might be their reaction? Like, what would Trump say watching your show?
Wow.
You would say,
we're having fun with this now.
You'd say, these guys are total losers.
Right. Look at this theater. It's only 3,000 seats. You guys are losers. I don't think any of these candidates are going to waste any time on the campaign trail, taking the night off and coming to see us. So I think we're fine. Plus, I'm not sure Trump doesn't drink, and I'm not sure they want to hang out and have drinks with us and the rest of the audience.
Absolutely. Well, if any of our listeners come, not the candidates, but if any of our listeners come, let's say they're still on the fence about whether to get a ticket. What's the final pitch on getting them to come out to Warner Theater?
The final pitch is come hang out with us and have a great time and laugh and forget your troubles and hang out with your friends. That's it.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time, guys. I know you're busy bouncing around the country doing this show, so we appreciate you taking the time and looking forward to see you at Warner Theater.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
We spoke again when their tour returned to Warner Theater in 2018.
Thanks for having us, Jason.
We talked, I guess it was a couple years ago you brought it through Warner Theater. If our listeners came out to that show, how does this one compare? Anything different this time?
Yeah, this is an all-new show that we've written this summer, and it's like the greatest hits of us part 2. It's like going out to a bar with us and hearing our best stories. It's a lot of fun. It's a great night out. It's not really political, although we touch on it a little bit. And
we kind of think people are sick of politics as it is, even in Washington, and really just want a nice night out, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, and just girlfriends who brought their girlfriends or brought their husbands or boyfriends, and we find a lot of people that had kind of a liquid dinner beforehand. They had a couple Pinot Grigios or tequilas, and we've encouraged that during the show.
Awesome. The liquid courage actually helps us get the room laughing a little, I think. How does the format actually work? Do people write suggestions on cards? Or you guys sitting? Is it like a between two ferns? Explain sort of what we'll see.
It's basically Andy and I on stage telling stories. We have videos and stuff that you wouldn't see on TV, and just stories from the last. We've been friends for 20, 25 years. It's behind pop. It's like a peek behind the curtain of pop culture and world events.
take questions at the end because we love the interaction of it, and we usually take like 20 minutes of questions toward the end. But the bulk of the show is really just us telling stories from our lives that are funny, and the whole purpose is just to kind of put aside politics and make people laugh for a night.
Yeah, you just mentioned that you've been friends for 25 years, and I think the last time you were on with us, you told a hilarious story about how it started. Remind our listeners in case they missed that one. Was it true you guys got set up on a date, and then all of a sudden you said a lifelong friendship blossomed?
Yeah, we were set up on a blind date, and we had a phone call to arrange the date, and I knew within like 45 seconds I was never going on a date with Andy. So,
Nice.
Yeah, he was very like. I don't know. He's on like a Bluetooth headset. He just seemed very excitable and enthusiastic. And he also violated my cardinal rule, which is he asked me about my mom within the first like 20 seconds of talking to me. So
Why is that the rule? Why is that the deal breaker?
I don't know. He wanted to date the Vanderbilt boy, so I don't know. It just seemed like, that's where he's coming from. So I don't know. I thought he might be better served elsewhere.
All right, Andy, we gotta get your response to that, Andy. Why did you bring up the mom?
I was excited. He was actually right. Anderson clocked me correctly. I was excited to date the Vanderbilt boy. So in this case, he was right. But now I'm friends with the Vanderbilt boy, and it's been many years, and I'm thrilled about it.
Awesome. Now, Andy, you know the area a little well from hosting the Potomac Housewives stuff and some of that Watch What Happens stuff. Are any of them going to be in the audience? What is that going to be awkward?
All the Potomac Housewives came to our Baltimore show, so I don't think they'll be there this time. But I have had Housewives
will the
in the audience.
Salahis come?
The Salahis, they'll probably crash it, just like they crashed the state dinner that year.
But Andy, you must. I mean, do people? You must get them after every time you do one of these shows. People coming up wanting to talk about Watch What Happens. What's like the craziest comment a fan of that show has come up to you about?
Oh, they're Watch What Happens live viewers. They like to have fun. So you just really never know what's going to come out of their mouth. I'll tell you that much.
And for you, Anderson, I mean, hosting your show, AC 360, and being here in D.C., you're going to have a bunch of people wanting to come up and talk politics. Especially, I mean, the new Trump hotel is literally right across from Warner Theater, and the White House is right down the street. How do you sort of diffuse that? I mean, I'm sure the theater's going to be filled with people from both sides of the aisle.
People don't ask political questions. I mean, really, they don't want to talk about politics. They've been dealing with it all day long, certainly in Washington. So even in our last show in Washington, we really didn't get a lot of political questions. People just want to enjoy themselves and and laugh and take their mind off all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah. And for you personally, though, how has the last, couple years been an even bigger challenge as a journalist to weed through the quote-unquote fake news and all this other stuff that it wasn't even part of the vernacular before, and now it just seems like it's a crazy important time for journalists to navigate all this stuff now.
Yeah, it is. It's really, in my lifetime, it's an extraordinary time, and I've never really seen a time like it. And, I think people are realizing the importance of news and accurate information. And I've never had more people come up to me in the street and say, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. And, I think people are really enmeshed and really following what's going on, whether they agree with it or not, on whatever side of the aisle you're on. And it's, it's a really critical time for our country and where the country's going.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.